Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Raz Choudhury. Welcome to the CRE Leaders Roundtable. We're going to talk about innovative strategies for unlocking growth. My job today is very simple. I want to make this as interactive and relevant as possible. We do have a few topics we're going to cover. And quite frankly, I might go off script a little bit because I genuinely want everyone that's on this call to get the most out of it. So without further ado, let's go straight into it. And also, if you have questions or if there's anything I'm covering that's not clear, kindly use the chat option as I will not be able to hear you. I am recording this, and those of you that want a copy, do let me know. You have my email address. You also have me on chat. So we're going to cover quite a few topics, and I'm going to make this as relevant and factual as I can based on all of the things that I've learned over the years in working with CRE executives. A little bit about myself. I started my career at IBM when I was a freshman in college. I worked there as an engineer for 5 years. Then I started a company in early 2000s, 2002 to be specific, called USA Web, which later became and is now known as Office Interactive. And then in 2016, I was fortunate enough to start another company, a software company, which is Sam.ai. So Sam.ai is hosting this webinar, and my job, as I was saying earlier, is to share all of the insights that we've learned. Now, having said that, I truly identify with what Mickey Mantle stated. It's unbelievable how much you don't know about the game you've been playing all your life. Now, I grew up in New York all my life, and I have been in tech as a tech CEO for over 2 decades. I'm in my mid-40s. I've got 2 kids, and I'm still learning. In fact, I just learned how to play soccer just about 4 years ago, and I love it. So I've been a sports fan all my life. I actually play sports more than I watch sports, but quotes like this resonate so much because every time I talk to a CRE executive, it's a combination of a few things. One is that, hey, we're very much relationship driven. Two, I already have a lot of knowledge in CRE. Or three, tech is just such a thing that I just don't have the time to get caught up in. It's relevant, it's important, but I just don't necessarily think that it's relevant for CRE. So being true to change and being true to learning, what we did back in 2016, I think this article that I'm showing you on my screen was published in 2017 on Inc. magazine. We had the good fortune of interviewing about 500 CEOs. Several dozen of them were listed on Inc. 500, 5,000 fastest growing companies in the US through one of our advisors who actually writes for Inc. magazine, Bill Carmody. So this was published. And one of the things that we asked them was share with us your growth wisdom that helped your company become some of the fastest growing companies, privately held companies in the US. So we got about 500 testimonials, written testimonials. This was published on this Inc. magazine article. The article is still up online. If you go to our website, you'll find it under the press and media section. But the distilled version of what we've learned was that the overarching wisdom was very simple, and it was very much relevant to relationship management, relationship acquisition, and essentially building and fostering relationships. And that was actually quite shocking to us because we were always under the assumption that it was something else. It was it was beyond relationship. But we what we realized was that relationship, when it comes to business development, is not only relevant, but it's also very scalable, right? It's something that I think almost every CRE executives can relate to. You guys know this more than anyone else. You also know that relationships often get abandoned, or they ship away or sail away. So I came up with this image that emphasizes how relationships, it sails away sometimes. And acquiring a new relationship is not only relevant, it's essentially the lifeblood of most businesses, especially B2B driven businesses, especially relationship driven businesses. Technology has evolved over the last 2 decades. Whether it's computers, internet, AI, it has evolved. But CRE is still dominantly driven by relationships, and it will still be driven by relationships, right? But how do you leverage new things that are available to you and drive new relationships? We're going to actually break that down, and pretty much everything that I'll be sharing within the first probably 20 minutes is not going to be biased. It's just going to be factual. We are a software company and we do sell software to CRE firms, but what I'm going to share you would hold true whether you use our software or somebody else's, right? So this is going to be as honest and genuine as it possibly can be, because it is driven by data, right? So how do you acquire new relationships, right? Well, we all know how some of the basics, go to networking events, maybe host or sponsor an event, and then make calls and try to foster a relationship, or talk to friends or get warm intros. Those are all true, but when you're in a highly competitive landscape and when you're trying to actually have a deal flow and a sales funnel that's really strong and robust, you kind of have to go beyond your Rolodex. You have to go beyond your network, and you have to actually leverage things that are available to you at scale. So it's a 5-step process that I think will resonate with almost all of you, but we will show you sort of the tactical aspect of it. So step number 1 is to cast a wide net. Well, what does that really mean? We'll go into that in a couple seconds. Step number 2 is get intent signal. Step number 3, relationship. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't establish trust, right? So trust, step number 3. Step number 4 is, well, we are often busy. We're not going to remember to follow up with everyone. So automation does play a huge role. And then, of course, client acquisition, right? So what do we mean by cast a wide net? Casting a wide net means, let's say you are in commercial real estate sales. You are essentially going after landlords that want to sell their property. Or let's say you're leasing, or you're doing industrial space or medical space, etc. Most of you have a pretty well-defined ideal client persona. Ideal client persona of your different products and services that you offer to your clients. In most cases, it's something as simple as, hey, look, we cater to companies that are 50 to 500 employees, that are C-suite executives, and that might be in need of an office space, or something as unique as, well, we actually have a property. It's a supermarket. It's potentially good to be a supermarket, and we want to target all nearby supermarket owners within the 50-mile radius of this zip code, right? Or it could be very, very complex. It could be that, hey, look, we're looking to raise money for this portfolio, a development project that we're doing, and we have 40% commitment on what we're trying to raise. We're trying to raise the remaining 60. Can we go after some high net worth individuals? So we tap into a database of about 260 million verified contacts, and getting those contacts is the easy part. You could get it from several different sources, ZoomInfo, etc. But getting verified contacts is not easy or simple, and that's where AI comes in. I'll get into that later. So getting your ideal client persona down is very, very important. That is casting a wide net. You've got to go after a wide array of people that fall into your ideal client persona. It could be multiple personas for multiple different services, but that's step number 1. And you could have various filters. There could be filters as simple as, companies that are making 50 million or more in this geography, or something a lot more sophisticated, Series B companies going after founders and CEOs and co-founders that are possibly hiring more people, or have a trending, or have intent signal of new hires, or just raised a new round. I want to go after those, right? So that's where data becomes really relevant. Filtering that data becomes really relevant. Lists have existed for eons, but the good news is that nowadays, lists and getting the ideal client persona context is much more sophisticated, and there are ways to get down to the very nitty-gritty of the right type of clients. So step number one, cast a wide net. Step number two, well, okay, great. You've got a whole bunch of lead lists. Sure, they fall into your ideal client persona, but so what? So your competitor has the same list probably, or if they're savvy enough, they probably have more lists than you. So what? Most people will just start calling them or sending them cold emails, and that's probably the worst thing you could do to a cold list, mainly because, and you guys know this more than anyone else, C-suite executives, they buy based on referrals. They buy based on who they meet at a conference. They buy based on their network, right? So those things are very, very relevant, and more relevant now than ever. So they're inundating people, especially the C-suite, in their inbox with a cold email like, hey, we've got this thing that we think is perfect for you. Here's some pictures. Are you interested? It's that approach works, but the ROI or the response rate is not as high. First of all, your open rate is not going to be as high as something that's more educational. More importantly, your response rate is not going to be as high. So how do you mitigate that? Well, the way you mitigate that is simple. You go back to what worked in the past, which is establishing trust by showcasing thought leadership. So let's say you have this awesome medical office. It's a huge clinical size or clinic size office. And you want to go after some of the biggest brands or biggest names in the medical world. Well, how do you do that? Well, you could say, look, hey, we're hosting a Zoom roundtable, inviting chief executive officers or VP of operations or folks like that to learn about best ways to optimize your footprint and acquiring new real estate or something to that extent. I mean, you would know better how to articulate your value prop. But the essence of what I'm trying to say is that offer the value of learning and understanding by putting yourself as the thought leader, as the expert in your industry or expert in that vertical, by saying something as simple as, hey, look, we're going to talk about medical office acquisition, the do's and don'ts, what works, what doesn't. And more importantly, we're going to talk about case studies, what worked for our clients, what didn't work for our clients. And I'm inviting people like you and others in your role, and we're going to cite some really interesting specifics in the region that you're in. If you're interested, let us know. Let's say we go after 2,500 of those people, right? And that not all 2,500 are going to be interested, but those that are interested, they could just say, yes, I'm interested. I'd like to attend that Zoom call or the wine and cheese or the lunch and learn, depending on how you set it up. It could be a virtual, it could be on site. In fact, today, we have a client that's hosting a lunch and learn in San Diego, inviting people that occupy commercial real estate in a region where it's very difficult to identify who the owners are, right? So they're deploying Sam.ai for that. But the short version of what I'm trying to say is that don't reach out to them cold, reach out to them with something of value, something very specific that would resonate with their title, with their industry, with their location, where you are presenting yourself not as the deal maker, but as an expert who will educate them, share with them insights, knowledge, know-how, best practices, etc. Right? That will always help you get more of an engagement. Even if it may not resonate with them directly, they might say, hey, thanks for this email. This doesn't resonate, but it sounds like you're an expert. By the way, I have this other problem. Can we talk? That often happens. But your main goal is to get the word out to the most relevant ideal clients for that specific type of product or services or property, and then get the intent signal. This method is so much better than wasting money on ads, doing social posts, cold email, and blogs. all of those things might be relevant, but if you're trying to get the most response rate, what better way to get that than to go into their inbox, offer them something that would resonate with their job title, with their location, with their industry, and tell them, hey, look, I'm inviting you and others like you to learn about something that I'm an expert in. If you're interested, click yes. If you're not interested, decline. That's it. You know, it's not something that they have to think a lot about. It's a binary thing. Yes, no. Most of the time, when you're sending a long cold email or long blog or long ad, it's very confusing. Like, what am I supposed to do? Maybe, okay, I'll think about it later. With the inbox, it's like, oh, I read it. It took me 2 minutes to read it. Look, this is a sample of an actual event that we ran. And it's like, all right, 3 paragraphs, takes me maybe 10 seconds to read, hit accept. It's in my calendar. I don't have to worry about registering. I don't have to worry about filling out a form. I don't have to worry about remembering to add to my calendar. It's all done. C-suite executives want to learn. They want to meet. They want to know. Nowadays, people are okay with Zoom. Nowadays, people don't necessarily have to go out and travel. In fact, travel is if they don't know you that well, they might actually prefer to like connect with you on a call or a Zoom before they make the effort to go out and see you in person. So it's a good first step to break the ice, position yourself as an expert, and more importantly, get to know each other, right? Relationship, right? Build trust, build relationship, showcase expertise, and then open up the dialogue to their own individual specific needs. Change is inevitable. We often know how important adaptation is when it comes to change, but I just want to highlight the relevance of adaptation, right? So it is not the strongest of the species that survive. So it's not the survival of the fittest, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. That's Charles Darwin. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. That's John F. Kennedy. And then the last quote is from Steve Jobs. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower, right? So we all know this, but the reason I'm citing some of these quotes is that you've got a anthropologist, you've got a politician or the president of the country, and you've got a CEO of a tech company, right? They're all pretty much saying the same exact thing. Change is inevitable, and you've got to adopt. But we've all heard a lot about AI. I have personally been intimately involved in AI since 2016. We pioneered quite a few things in AI. You could look up some of our white paper online. But what does that mean? What does that really mean if I can't use it for growth? At a macro level, you're looking at AI to impact the global economy and contribute to the global economy by 2030, $15.7 trillion. That's the contribution of AI or projected contribution of AI to the global economy. That's according to PricewaterhouseCoopers. There's another survey that they have done, and they predicted that up to 26% boost in the GDP of local economies from AI by 2030 as well. So we're looking at a dramatic change in how things are done. And I think you more so than anyone else know that in commercial real estate, there are a lot of changes. There are a lot of things that are happening, right? There are in depending on your location, whether it's industrial, office, or transactional or development, there are a lot of new dynamics, and those dynamics are sometimes favorable to what you're doing and sometimes not. So what can AI specifically do to establish that, to kind of help you grow? My promise to you was 20 minutes of actual factual stats and things of that nature. And then the latter part is maybe about 10 minutes of Sam.ai and then just Q&A. So I'm going to now get into something that is biased, which is Sam.ai. I'm the founder, so everything I say is biased about Sam.ai. However, I will show you some very specific case studies that might resonate with you. So what do? We started the company in 2016. It's an integrated sales and marketing platform. We looked at all of the problems that exist in B2B businesses since 2020, more specifically commercial real estate businesses. And our platform was designed to solve those key problems. CRE executives don't have the time. They literally don't have time to waste on a software, right? Learning a new software is a headache. I myself hate learning a new software. Email marketing, sure, is relevant, but if my open rate sucks, then what is the point? I don't have the data. My data is my Outlook or my Gmail contacts. That's it. Or I'm too small or I'm too big, right? I'm too small, meaning I'm a one-man show. I don't have a secretary to help me, or I'm a part of a big club. I think I know everything and I think I have the best systems. All of it is not true, right? All of it, you can't have truth in every corner. The truth is that even if you're an individual, you could leverage quite a few things right out the box when it comes to Sam.ai without even learning how to use software. That's number one. If you belong to a big corporation, a big umbrella, then there's a pretty good chance they don't have anything nearly close to what we have. Nearly close, because we actually came up with these things from the ground up. We did not steal someone's AI. We invented everything that Sam.ai has. Having said that, our platform essentially starts you off with verified leads, right? Every single lead that we get you has everything to do with your ideal client persona. They're verified, meaning you're not going to have a high bounce rate. In fact, that's going to increase your open rate. We have something called one-click roundtable, which means if you've got a specific property, let's say you've got that, supermarket, 40,000 square foot supermarket or medical office or a specific property, and you want to go after really highly qualified leads for that, you could run a webinar or a roundtable. And with ours, only our platform, because we came up with this technology, one-click registration. So a C-suite or CEO doesn't have to go out to a landing page, fill out a form, remember to add it to their calendar. If they say accept, it's in their calendar. Appointment setting. We have AI-generated appointment setting where you could literally talk to the system and say, hey, I want you to create a sequence of 5 emails to this list that I got. And in this email, I want you to talk about all of the opportunities that exist in office leasing for CEOs and startups and cite some statistics. You could literally talk to the system and it will generate sequential emails, let's say a series of 5 or 6 emails that could go out over a course of 5 or 6 weeks to that audience to get appointments. So with Sam.ai, you're essentially replacing software like Salesforce, like Constant Contact, MailChimp, Calendly, Outreach.io, ZoomInfo, Apollo, because we have integrated everything into one system. So it's a lot easier, a lot less expensive, more importantly, a lot less time consuming for you to get the word out. And of course, we've got a beautiful sales and customer relationship management system where there's almost no data entry. You literally use your voice to talk to it as if you're talking to a Siri. So that's Sam.ai. This is kind of a small screenshot of what it does. You could talk to it, very small element. It's like a co-pilot for CRE executives. This is the stuff that you probably want to see. Well, what does it mean, right? Well, okay, you've got a software, it does some of the things that I might be in need of. That's great. But what does it mean if I'm a CRE executive or CRE firm? Well, this is Bert. He's one of our first CRE client. His company just recently was sold to Cressa. So Vicus Partners had several 100,000 leads. Their whole company was in a lot of trouble during the pandemic. Meaning, in the heart of New York City, you've had literally overnight, just everything vanish. I live and I have my office in Manhattan, so I was a witness to all of that. Long story short, during the pandemic, Bert really and his team really used Sam.ai, and during that time, literally half of their sales pipeline came from Sam.ai, and one of the largest clients that they acquired was Newsweek magazine. So this is one case study from Vicus Partners. This is the next one. It's the more recent one. Christopher is a VP and partner at Voight Real Estate. They're a San Diego-based company, I think about 140 to 200 brokers. He individually saved about $1,200 a year by switching to Sam.ai because he was using a whole bunch of other software to do the same thing. His open rate increased dramatically from email marketing. Sam.ai uses the top, the number one rated SMTP server to get email deliveries out, also private IP, so you get the highest open rate. And with Sam.ai, he was able to automate and streamline workflow using AI and using some of the other tools that we have. This is Michael Mazzara. He is the founder of tenantreps.com. From the first campaign that he sent out, he booked a $1.5 million lease from the email marketing campaign that he had sent out. This is Mike Davis from Scotland Wright Associates. From the first roundtable that he hosted, he used our list. He got the email blast out to about 4,313 C-suite executives in his area, I think Atlanta, Georgia. Out of that, he had 26 people register for the live Zoom call. He's got 6 long-term leads from that, like people that are genuinely interested in working with him, and then 3 live deals in the sales pipeline, just from that very first roundtable campaign. So yeah, Sam.ai started the company back in 2016. First several years, we spent time building our tech stack. Then in 2020, we started focusing on CRE. We're still learning quite a bit, literally every day. So when our clients, you start using Sam.ai, they not only get the software, they also get the knowledge share that we do via webinar, as well as via our white paper. So we sort of share not just the technology of our software, but also insights that would help them get the highest amount of open rate, insights that would help them nurture their leads better, things of that nature. If you're interested, I'd be happy to do a demo. You could book a demo online by going to sam.ai. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to look for any questions that you might have had. So allow me a second to stop the recording.